heck is going on with Duterte? Like, he's on crimes against humanity for what? For killing drug dealers?
Yeah, yeah, for allegedly killing drug dealers.
Well, I mean,
And
hold on.
I was like, when is that a crime against humanity?
There was a joke
crime against humanity to kill drug dealers trying to take over your government.
There was a joke in the chat that says that Europe is pissed off that they killed his drug dealers. Were these extrajudicial assassinations? Were they like cold-blooded murder, or were they, were they?
I mean, all he did was he authorized the police to do self-defense involving conflict with drug dealers. He's like, and he took the gloves off. He said, "Look, they're trying to make a narco state here, like they were doing in El Salvador." He goes, "Folks, you got carte blanche. Go at it." And what happened? He created one of the He took one of the most dangerous cities in the country as mayor and made it one of the safest.
So
he's the backstory is politics.
Well, so someone said it was his political rival that turned him in.
Not really. It was supposed to be his ally. So it's the old Marcos family from the Philippines, which have had long disputes with Western European authorities. They united with Duarte, or I'll get his name mispronounced, but Duterte.
I think it's Duarte. I'm gonna see how it's.
I'm gonna say Duarte. Why not? But his daughter was vice president along with Marcos running for president, and now they've split since then. Marcos decided no longer wants their support, but knows that if he tried to indict him in the Philippines, the jury would definitely acquit because he's one of the most popular people in the Philippines ever. So what did he do? He cut a secret deal with the corrupt International Criminal Court out of the Hague, pursuant to the Rome Statute, which Duarte had pulled them out of that. And Marcos, to my knowledge, had not joined it back again. So what he did is he just basically allowed a major public official to be kidnapped, dragged to the Hague, where he'll be tried for crimes against humanity. What it was always going to happen, some of us were long critics of the International Criminal Court. My friends on the left realized the problem with the International Criminal Court when they selectively targeted dissident presidents who didn't like the EU, for example, or didn't like NATO, and going after the Milosevic and others related to the Balkan conflicts, and then it went after Putin later on. My friends on the right recognized the risk of the ICC when they went after George W. Bush, and then now, most recently, went after Netanyahu. I have long said the International Criminal Court is a joke. It's an attempt at globalist elite power usurping all sovereignty around the world in the name of Nuremberg cases, when the real Nuremberg case is what happened to the entire world in 2020.
I'm going to ask a stupid question because I hadn't been following the story. Did they have possession over? It's Duterte, by the way. Hold on.
He came back from Hong Kong. They kidnapped him at the airport and dragged him back to the Hague.
Here, listen to this.
Duterte. Sara Duterte.
I presume that's how you pronounce it.
Duterte. Oh, okay. I'll
Duterte. You have to say it with a very deep accent. So they kidnapped him and they took him into custody.
Yeah, they dragged him and flew him off before he could ever fight it in the Philippines, because Marcos had a wink and a nod with the authorities at the ICC.
How is this not an international crime against the sovereignty of nations?
It is. I mean, that's what she said. The vice president of the Philippines said the daughter said this is an absolute violation of core sovereignty principles. That that we had pulled out of the ICC, so they don't have jurisdiction to begin with. This is just kidnapping. The ICC just going around kidnapping. It is the same. A week after they bar the person in Romania wants to win the presidential election from running for the presidency of Romania, after Vice President Vance went over there a month ago and said, "Don't do that again. If you're going to have values anathema to America, then America is not going to be spending its blood and treasure defending you."
But also what a message that's sending to Netanyahu, who was contemplating coming to Canada, where they said, they weren't categoric about not letting the ICC detain or arrest. Oh my goodness, that's shocking.
It's very dangerous. We should have been out of the ICC, never supported the ICC, should have opposed the ICC, should do further sanctions. President Trump has already talked about sanctioning any support of the ICC. It was opposing it and opposing any money for it, removing any money that was possibly going to it. Remember, Jack Smith famously came from the International Criminal Court, the rogue prosecutor the deep state used to go after President Trump to try to corrupt our elections here. There need to be consequences to this. Duterte, he was a strong ally of President Trump. So it's also a shot across the bow to President Trump. Mm-hmm. So it's a deeply disturbing case that reveals once again why the International Criminal Court shouldn't even exist. And America should do everything possible to eliminate it from existence and have nothing to do with it whatsoever, and start to sanction countries that support it or join it. That would wake them up a bit. I mean, like, look at what Trump has done with tariffs. They play ball, they play games on something else, and he's like, well, you know what? 20% of your economy depends on this. So how are you going to survive? Or are you going to back off that attempts to undermine American freedom and liberty around the world? And so I think